Uh, I'm gonna pull up Twitch and see like if I can see myself real quick or ourselves. Hey, yeah. All right, we're live. I don't want to. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Hey, yo! Shout out to the chat. Hey, I see us on live. All right, boys. What's going on, everybody? We are here. This is another episode of the Value Investment Group where we have high level investors, six, seven, and sometimes even eight-figure investors on here talking about stocks, talking about the market, talking about Bitcoin from a value perspective. So, guys, I'm gonna kick things off. It's Thursday. It's Wednesday, and the week is crazy. Monday starts off red. You know, everyone is saying, "Oh man, we're gonna go back to the lows. This was just a fake out." Trump comes out with some kind of information Tuesday evening last night about how they're gonna maybe ease up on the tariffs on China and things like that, and we see a crazy rally the last couple days. So, you know, I'll say this is what I'm expecting. We're in a kangaroo market. We're going to see things go up and down, up and down. At the end of the day, you know, fundamentals are still the same, right? Fundamentals for the companies are still the same, and like tariffs are still a giant question mark. I'm gonna hand it over to Sam. What do you think? What's kind of your take on the general like market situation right now?
Yeah, so what I've been doing is when I see the most amount of people kind of throwing in the white towel, that's like when I really start buying like heavily now. Because like when the when it starts, like when people start realizing like it's getting clicks, like, oh, market's crashing, whatnot. But like you said, and we stated previously on the last few episodes, that nothing really changed. This is all kind of being manufactured, all based off of Trump's negotiation tactics, let's call it. So that's basically just riled up the entire market. People, I believe it was oversold. I mean, the stuff like those 2 days where it was like 6% down one day, 5% down the next day, and that was just 2 days. I mean, that drop was as big as the COVID crash when the entire world stopped. So it was completely overblown, and as quickly as it went down, I think it can go just as up. I mean, if Trump says tomorrow, me and Xi Jinping, we hashed it out, we figured out a great deal, we're about to make a boatload of money for both of us. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing. I mean, the market could probably rally. We could have a 10% up day. Like we've had. When because with the Bitcoin, when we saw the largest the largest Bitcoin candle in history, a $11,000 candle, that was just from one Trump tweet. So he really has the power to shift the markets right now. And that should be a little worrying, simply due to this. I mean, he is one of the, well, I would say probably the most powerful person in the world. I mean, the president of the United States. So we just have to be very cautious, and you can't. Everyone who says they know what's going to happen is completely lying, because we've never been here. This is uncharted territory. That's my take.
Yeah, no, for sure. I again, I think there's just it's impossible to know what's going to happen next. I think all we can rely on is uncertainty and like generally remain like cautiously optimistic. Dan, what do you think?
So for me as an investor, my horizon's a little bit longer. So I'm looking for plays that are going to outlast these tariff negotiations. I'm not trading on a weekly or a daily time frame. Looking more from a yearly to year basis and what's going to perform. And I'm looking at large macro trends that are going to be the tailwinds of innovation over the next 5, 10 years. And of course, the easy answer there is going to be AI. We're going to talk about what that means for society, but who are like the real players in that space, and not just people that are coming up with like really cool tools or solutions here or there, but who's building the actual infrastructure that's going to be there in 10, 25, 30 years. And for me, one of the plays that I love is Google. I think Google has sold off massively here over the past 4 or 5 months. And I think they have one of the best models going right now. Um, they are a monopoly. And while that brings on lawsuits and brings on uh, different types of headwinds, the technology that they offer and the foothold that they have and that they're growing on is really, really interesting from an investment perspective. Um, I think they're starting to run that company more like a startup than it was in the past, and I think there's a lot of internal changes that are going on there that's advantageous to more rapid growth here in the future. So I would take a look at that for sure.
Yeah, so on Google, I think everyone here likes Google. I think we can all look at the numbers and say, wow, like trading at like current PE of like 20, low 20s, trading at a forward PE in the high teens. Like it's kind of a crazy deal for a company like Google. And then people say, well, ChatGPT is gonna eat their lunch, Grok's gonna eat their lunch, like Perplexity, all those things. Like people aren't gonna be using search, and if they're not using search, then Google doesn't have like that. Like so much of their money comes from the search ads. Like what do you guys think about that argument? Like that ChatGPT and all these other like LLMs are going to take over search, and there's just not as many ways to input ads into that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of on the fence about it. I buy Google honestly. My every time Google goes into like the low 140s and below, currently I'm very happy to buy, but I'm not buying huge amounts because in the back of my mind there still is kind of that risk to their foundational like business.
I mean, see, I'm kind of half and half right now. I was picking up. I was a big Google buyer, but we're talking about maybe 2022, 2023, early 2023 when the price was. I don't want to be mistaken, but I think it was in the 80s or something, maybe 70s or the 80s. Um, I was picking up, and I haven't really been buying unless, like Ben said, there's been it just completely oversold. I mean, you have to sometimes you just have to see that, there's a lot of panic selling going on. People are really scared. Um, and a lot of people were kind of just, you know, talking up I feel like talking up how bad it was, talking up how like, oh, the world's over. I mean, listen, none of this is the funniest part what I think about. None of this is new. None of this is out of left field. Trump ran on this. Trump ran on saying that we're going to have to go back to the negotiation tables with the world, and we're going to have to shake it up because the way it's going, it's not advantageous for us. It's we're getting we're getting taken. So you have to go through a little bit of pain, and people were just what I think what happened was people just kind of looked at their 401ks, like, not, I wouldn't even call them investors. I mean, they are invested in the markets, but I wouldn't call them investors per se. And that's their a lot of people have been saying, put all your money, that's your retirement, don't have money sitting around because of inflation and whatnot. So a lot of these people, they're nearing retirement, and they basically just saw their nest egg go down 25% in a matter of a month, or what is it, maybe a month and a half, 2 months. So to the average person, that's kind of a psychologically, we kind of all understand volatility, especially us who are in the crypto space, even more so, and then talking about guys like, people who are into the meme coins and stuff like that, that's a whole different level of volatility.
Mm.
So a lot of people got scared, a lot of people got shooken out, and a lot of people just I would they sold. Like Ben said on Monday, if you would have taken 9 out of 10 people, everyone, oh, we're going, it was a complete fake out. We're about to see lower lows. That was the sentiment I'm feeling.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I agree again. I mean, a lot of people became investors just because they happen to like put money into their Roth or 401ks, whatever, when they never developed that like investing skill, which is understanding what you own. And it's kind of like that analogy that Warren Buffett has, where he's like, and it's funny because he's like, this is an analogy from like 7 years ago, but he still says it. It's like if you buy a house for $50,000, and someone comes to you the next day and is like, hey, I'll give you 40,000, like do you panic or do you just like ignore it? So it makes sense assuming the underlying asset is the same, right? And assuming like economic conditions haven't changed. But back specifically to that Google point, I don't know, Josh or Dan, if you guys want to jump in, like what do you guys specifically think about like Google as a stock to be buying right now for the long term when there's like that real risk of AI and the LLMs like actually disrupting their search model?
I think
So I think
you can go if you want.
Sure. So I think search is just a very small portion of the pie. I think it's how it made its name, Google, and that's what it's known for. But I think from its total market cap, the percentage that Google search is and what will be in the future is going to be diminished. Obviously, there are now players that are offering these search features and deep research features that are better than just Google searching things, and I totally see that, and that's a hindrance to their search feature. But I think that's going to be much smaller moving into the future. I think where Google has a real opportunity to grow and to build is with their AI services. So search right now is like the main agent that gets used for AI in general. But as you start to get rapid development of this technology, you're going to start to see more verticals get built out with AI features. I know a couple of years ago, Google and Wendy's went ahead and they have a partnership where they go ahead and use Wendy's data, and they actually are using AI now when it comes to crafting orders, going ahead and figuring out what the actual customer is going to want there when they pull up to Wendy's. Um, and on top of that, just building more tools and more AI features. They have one of the best models right now. They've got giant data sources with their search tool, with YouTube, with they own, and they actually just acquired Wiz, which is a cybersecurity company, for $32 billion. This happened about a month ago, I think now. So they're getting into more cybersecurity avenues as well. So I just think there's a lot more there than just the search feature.
Yeah, I actually saw the acquisition. I believe it was from an Israeli company. Was yeah, I mean, listen, I feel like people are thinking a little bit like kind of one dimensionally about AI. Like, I don't think, like you said, it's who's building, the actual infrastructure. And like we were talking about earlier, that's why I'm so bullish also on Microsoft, is because of the how much they're actually putting into developing the infrastructure throughout the entire world. They have partnerships in India, they have partnerships in Japan, they have partnerships in Italy, all over. They're building like facilities and building these just building out the infrastructure for the AI, because soon, like you said, there's going to be I would like a mass adoption type level, when um AI just becomes so much of a better choice than using, maybe some form of like low skilled labor, or just, even high skilled, because it just there's going to be a lot of disruption. So I feel like if whoever's building out the infrastructure right now, they're kind of have just a huge step up, because language models, they come and go. I mean, searches come and go, like I don't know if you guys remember with the whole DeepSeek thing, when the whole panic, that was like, people were talking about that, what, for like a week and a half. Like, you could have sworn the world was like, it's over, like, China got his beat, let's, like let's become like the next Taiwan. But it's now, I mean, no one's talking about it, because it's kind of, everything gets sensationalized, I think so, and with AI right now. So it's really hard to kind of like see
Well, they're
really
known
what's.
they're known for taking our ideas and making them cheaper and more accessible, right? So it's like it's just a common pattern that they've
But
always
but
done.
it wasn't that it became cheaper, more it's because it was, the whole thing was like, oh, they only did it with X amount of chips and X amount. Well, that's not true, because they're sanctioned, and or they have tariffs, so they have a lot of ways. They're really good with the sneaky stuff, or like, having a proxy and another proxy, buy it and bring it in. So we really don't know what's going in, what's going in or out of China. We have to really just kind of take their word for it. But
I wanted to go back to Google and give my 2 cents.
Yeah, give us your
yeah,
thoughts.
I was feeling that as well, Ben, with the 50-50, and I was like, oh, like, search is pretty big, and that might leave. But at the same time, it's like search is already changing, right? If you search something in, it's already AI is the first thing that comes up, and we have to think about all the other verticals that they're going to get their feet wet in, and plus what they have now with Waymo is a huge thing. That's going to expand. That's only in the West Coast. If you're talking about like with the robo taxi and even Uber and all that, that's a whole different venture that they're competing in, and it's not even including like the search engine, and they have YouTube, so it's like
Yep.
like Dan said, it is a monopoly, and they have all these different businesses in under Alphabet. So it's just it's truly massive, and I don't think they'll get beaten. I mean, they could in some parts, but I think they just have too much going for them.
Yeah, no, you
Well,
get you get
sorry, Ben. One last thing. The only other real opposition with Google was the woke stuff as well. If we want to get into that as well, because I remember there was just a bunch of with the search, especially, there was just a bunch of like political bias happening within the company, and a lot of these like initiatives or whatnot. I mean, given a lot of them are going away now, especially because the new presidency, the new administration, but that
Yeah.
stuff, it could really tarnish a company. So
But
that's
yeah, the thing is, like, so just to wrap up the point on Google, the thing is, like, Sam, someone you said, like, companies like Google, pretty much all big tech, when super like woke, if that's the term you want to use, and like, people were saying, oh, Gemini, you were looking up like Gemini, show me the founding fathers, and they were showing you photos of like black women and like the founding fathers outfits. It's like that was the default, because the way they programmed it was to make it like anti like make it extra equitable. And like if you actually looked into the algorithm, and you actually asked Gemini, like, why are you giving me these results, why are you doing this, why are you doing that, Gemini literally said, I have been trained to provide like equity over accuracy when it comes to history. So although like obviously all the founding fathers look one way, I'm going to make them look another way, because that's kind of the more equitable answer. And I think at the end of the day, I don't think the minds of the people at like Google and at like big tech generally change too much, but I think that they saw the writing on the wall, and they now understand that, hey, like, this is not a popular position, this is not the politically powerful position, and also the job market's a lot tighter, like I don't want to lose my job. So I think they've toned down, but like, there's always this concern. You can never really trust any of these companies to do the right thing, without kind of a fear of repercussion. So that's kind of one point. And then two, yeah, I mean, you guys are right. Like, you have YouTube, you have Waymo, really, really, really amazing businesses. Waymo is by far the leader right now in like the autonomous like vehicle, the self driving. Um, as we're talking about self-driving, I want to talk about Tesla real quick. Just to give everyone an update. Tesla had earnings yesterday. Everyone was expecting them to be bad, and they were quite bad.
Really
They
bad.
missed most of the marks. Like, some of their numbers we haven't seen since like 22. But Elon said he's going to step back a little bit from Doge, and obviously they're going full speed on like the robot stuff, the full self driving, robot taxis. Um, an interesting post I saw, and I haven't seen this video yet because I don't think it's out, is from Jeremy at Holy Smokus, who we've talked about multiple times on the show. I really like. I think he has really, really good insights. He came out saying he sold all of his Tesla. He's been holding it for many, many years. I think he was up like 1,800% total on his Tesla. He's fully out. I'm still holding my Tesla, but honestly, it's it's tough, man. I just think I don't know exactly what to do. I'm probably gonna hold,
Well,
but I'm considering trimming. What do
the
you guys
the
think?
thing is about that, and I saw that too. He was also up 1,800%. Like he threw in 10 grand to make like 180 grand, right? That's a very small position for him compared to everything else. Um, I watch him pretty frequently too, and he did talk about Tesla and everything, but he doesn't really touch base on Optimus and the whole robots and robotaxi. I don't know if he's bullish on that at all. I am. I'm super excited about where Optimus can go in the whole humanoid robotics. That's super exciting to see. I think Tesla is a leader. Well, I know there's smaller companies that are taking part in that, but they are one of the bigger companies that um, that spoiled that and that they're working on. I know there's a lot of Boston-based companies that are doing that too, but I think Tesla at scale can change a lot of things going forward. I don't know how you feel towards Optimus and that sector of Tesla.
well. So with Tesla, like I've been saying, I've been super bullish on Tesla. Even with the big decline. I mean, we saw a crazy rally and then we saw a huge decline. I like Elon. I think he's just a little like he bit off a little bit more than he could chew. That's basically what happened because he has so many things that are in the works. I mean, listen, we're still waiting on the Roadster. Like I don't want to be, one of those guys, but we're
Yeah,
really still waiting on the Roadster. Like that's I remember 2019 talking to friends like, they put the $500 deposit, da 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 or whatever. And it's like we're 6 years later, man. I could have probably built that thing. Like, what are we talking about? And then something like, it sounds good. It sounds like a really good idea, but the complexity level to have like a fully functional robot, I mean, if it's taking 6 years to build a friggin' sports car, I mean, what do we. But like, and I feel like they've been cutting Elon a lot of slack. Like, how many? Because he has missed earnings a lot before, and he comes out during the shareholder meeting and says, "Well, this is our plan," and it all sounds really, really good. I just hope that he steps back from Doge a little bit and starts showing some concrete achievements, which I think will send the stock flying because people just really want. Like, people want it. Well, now maybe not because of the whole Doge thing. There's a lot of people hating on on Elon.
I mean, you even saw they missed their numbers by a lot, right? I think it was almost like 30%.
Any other company, we would have seen it down like 15,
Yeah, and
15,
just because
20%.
Elon came in and said, "Oh, I'm stepping back from Doge," and you really see that people are super excited for the future
Yeah,
of Tesla.
it's a cult of personality stock,
Yeah.
right? And again, I've said this many times. Like Tesla, this is we talk about value investing here. Tesla is really hard to invest from a value perspective because you're
Yep.
betting on Elon, right? Like, and how do you quantify that as one man? And there's that key man risk, and there's all these other things. So again, when you look at the numbers, Tesla, does it make sense to buy? I would say no. Does it make sense to hold? Probably
It
not.
never did. It never
Never,
made sense
never.
on
look at
paper. On paper, at least.
look at the way the world works and kind of like they're just people you don't bet against. People like Elon, people like Trump, um people like Zuck. Like you just
Like
don't bet
like
against these
Sam
people.
Altman, bro.
Yeah,
They were
you don't go against these people not because like it's the right or wrong thing to do. It's just like it's not the way the world works. Like they make things work. So and maybe there might be a time where they run out of that power and then it's like, oh, I've been bag holding, but I don't know. Again, I have an optimistic frame, so it's very hard for me to. I would never short Tesla, while Elon's alive and there. That's just not something I would ever do. But in terms of holding a lot more or buying more, those are questions I think are interesting.
Yeah,
The one thing I would
you
want to
don't
add,
go ahead.
one thing I want to add here is that we haven't talked about yet is they have a huge energy division at Tesla that not a lot of people really talk about, and I think it's one of the slept-on aspects of the country. I think I was reading in Q1 of 2025, their battery storage division deployed about 10 gigawatt hours of storage, which I think moving into the future where you have a lot of these data centers that are going to be up and running online, a lot more manufacturing up and running online. In order for the grid to function properly, you're going to have to integrate storage mechanisms. And I don't think there's a lot of companies competing in the energy storage space. And I think Tesla does a really good job of attracting and retaining talent in that space. So I think maybe it's not a buy right now, but just looking out 4 or 5 years into the future, that energy storage is something that I would definitely take a look at.
And you got to think about how much data they've been collecting from all these people buying Teslas and what they're going to implement in the robo taxi. You got to think of Tesla as a whole data company and what, in the next 5 years, what are they going to come up with, right? They're going to definitely implement AI and take it to the next level. But it's like, we'll see. Like they're gonna implement AI in Optimus and their robo taxis, and they can take over the whole autonomous driving, um, overnight pretty much. Um, they're not a. I don't see them as a vehicle company. I see them as like they could be anything at this point. I mean, they're coming out with robots and friggin' self-driving cars, and they can come out with microwaves or whatever it is in the next 5 to 10 years. I don't know, but
and I feel like people already forgot, man, they have like a couple $1 billion in Bitcoin as well right now on the balance sheet. I think he came out saying that he didn't sell from that huge
yeah,
purchase. So, you know,
yeah.
that
I
too.
mean, you definitely don't invest in Tesla as a value company because their forward PE is like, what has it been? I think it's over 200. But you do
Yeah, I
invest
don't think
in
it's that
in
high,
the
but
future,
yeah,
and
it's up there.
it's up there, and you don't invest because of that. You invest because of Elon and what Tesla
Yeah.
can be in the next 5 to 10 years.
100%. It's definitely one of those companies. Again, oh, like I would say another one is Palantir, right? Guys, like what's going on? Palantir is back over $100 a share. I mean, that's insanity. but again, they're locking up big contracts. They're very plugged into the government. I honestly think like everyone knows Lockheed Martin, everyone knows Raytheon, everyone knows um shoot, what are the other ones? Dan, you probably know those.
You
Lockheed,
got
Raytheon,
Grumman, Lockheed,
yeah,
Raytheon, like
yeah,
you said. You have
Northrop,
Anduril
yeah.
now, which is
Yeah,
coming into that
yeah,
space.
well, yeah. The point was, I think, like honestly, those guys, yeah, with Boeing, right? Those are the big contractors for the government. And I've been listening to a lot of Eric Prince, and like he was a government contractor with Blackwater, and the amount of waste, fraud, abuse, disgust that these people like will do, like with the cost plus and the selling like screwdrivers for like 40 bucks a piece and stuff like stuff like that. So it's so messed up that I think really the future of government contracting is going to be, it's not going to be Raytheon, Lockheed, Boeing, Northrop. It's probably going to be Palantir, Anduril, and maybe like Tesla. And I think that's kind of why these multiples are so high, because if they become the new infrastructure for like government contracting, these are 11-figure contracts. So I think that's a real possibility. But I also want to open it up to you guys. What are some particular stocks that you guys are eyeing? We can start with.
Um,
Go
Ones
ahead.
I've been buying. So I was gonna say this in the beginning. I invested a lot when the VIX was over 50. Fear and Greed was, it was at extreme fear around like four, and
Same.
I
Two
started
or three,
I s-
four.
yeah, I started like two, three, four, whatever. I started allocating a lot of my funds into the market. I bought a lot of Meta, Google, Amazon for a value perspective, and then bought some Elf and Hims, Nvidia, AMD. I was shopping. I was pretty much at a buffet. I was drooling. I was really happy. It was a fun week to buy, but at this point, I'm kind of just waiting it out. I think I've pretty much allocated what I wanted. If things do come back down, I will buy some more, but right now I'm pretty satisfied in my positions.
One
I
play in
mainly.
particular,
Oh, sorry. You can go.
one play in particular that I'm definitely keen on. I've been keen on it since 2022 is CrowdStrike. I think cybersecurity moving into an ever more digitalized world is just ever more important, and I think that's highlighted by Google acquiring Wiz for $32 billion. Um, there's talks of us being in a cold war with China, with Russia, and things like that, and where hot war only happens in very specific locations through proxy. But the digital reality is a war front, and having companies that can provide digital security like a CrowdStrike or even a Palo Alto, um, I view those companies almost like defense companies. They work with the government to protect their infrastructure against cybersecurity attacks. I think that's going to only become more important in the future, and I think right now their chart looks really good. So I would take a look at that for sure.
What's their ticker?
CRWD, CrowdStrike.
Yeah, CrowdStrike. Yeah, I've been a buyer probably around 2021. It's been performing really well. Uh, Personally, what I've been buying, I've been just buying some Tesla, loading up a couple Nvidia shares here and there. I've also been purchasing some AMD, some Amazon, definitely some Amazon, couple Google shares. But mainly just been buying Bitcoin. Really, when that the big drop. Um, because I was really, I really thought that even if it went down like even more, great, let me buy. Because if you tell yourself whenever it was at 109, damn, I should have, could have bought more, could have copped a little bit more, and then it goes to 74 and you don't buy, you're a chump. Like that's just how it is. Um, if you ask for it, and it comes, you got to do it. That's just how it is.
That's true.
Being scared is not going to do anything.
It's tough.
People
I
lose.
mean, it's not
You know,
easy. Listen, you see a big drop, and you gotta that's why being an investor is very different from being a speculator, right? I'm not saying people should go out and buy Bitcoin, because ultimately you have to do your own calculations based off your own research. And if you believe Bitcoin or whatever digital asset or whatever investment is a good risk to reward, it's a good position for you to be holding, then you have to be able to like stomach the losses. You have to be able to stomach the downturns. Like,
Yeah.
it's just the way it is. And most people, they just get happy when it goes green. I do too, man. Hey, I love when it's green and you're up all this money. But unfortunately, it doesn't work that way, and it can't work that way because if there are only green days, nobody would be buying into the market because no one wants to there'd be no opportunities for like retracement and people to sell shares and stuff like that. So anyway, yeah, it's a good point. And I'll
Bro,
wrap this up.
you
Yeah,
know
go
what's
ahead.
what's crazy about that too, Sam, is I was buying Bitcoin and altcoins too, and what got me to buy, I was really like I was super scared. Like I was getting really scared and I was like, holy crap, like I'm getting scared. Like I was getting scared and I was like, should I sell my my XRP bags and like all this? And I was like thinking like really hard. And I forgot what this was. This is like a week or two ago. And I was getting super scared and I was like, oh my God, I should buy because I was feeling so scared. So I started buying a bunch of alts. I even told Ben, I was like, hey, I started allocating alts again. And then yeah, look. But yeah,
I
I
mean,
was
listen, I don't want to say look yet. We are very
no, I
much.
know, but I'm saying look now, like you know what I mean, like
Yeah,
not look
no, yeah,
ahead, but
definitely.
I don't want to be like you know I was
Listen,
calling the bottom at like 73K, 74K for like
no, that was
you know what I
actually
mean, like
that was
I
actually really,
was
really good.
yeah, I
That
had
that
a high conviction in bottoming out there. I was in a technical perspective, like anything can happen. He can say Trump can say China tariffs that are 1,000% and everything
I
tanks
mean,
again. But
China could say,
Bro, but
hey,
if the same, I'll tell you this right now. If Trump says, yeah, we're not gonna charge you, we're not gonna tax you on your Bitcoin sales. Bitcoin's going to $200,000 that same day. Like
that's
before
I don't think that's
before
gonna happen.
people can even like Robinhood would be down from overactivity. Coinbase would be frozen.
Hood would
I mean,
So
probably
I
go
think
to
exchanges are already having a hard time supplying.
yeah, we would probably see Hood at 100 a share. Again, I'll be real, guys. I don't think that's gonna happen. It could, but it's on the table. I would give it
Come on, Ben.
less than
Be a little optimistic. Come on.
I'm optimistic, but you got to think about the optics when most
I
people
know,
don't
I
own
know.
crypto, and then you say, hey, like crypto, which is no offense to everybody listening this who's in crypto. I know everyone here owns some, but some of the scummiest people in the world
I
are
mean,
big into crypto.
at the
So
end of
it
the day,
just
it's speculation.
I
It's
mean,
all
listen, but
it's
by
all
that logic, some of the scummiest people in the world use dollar bills. Who cares? The cartel
100%.
use dollar bills. The terrorists use
So
dollar bills too.
guys, one thing I'll just say, like,
uh,
there was something that came out today about Trump considering like increased like taxes for people making over $1 million. I think this administration is really they're also talking about getting rid of carried interest for fund managers. Like people don't realize hedge fund managers, like say you run like a $5 billion fund, right? And you make your clients a $1 billion return, and you get 300 million off of that. For most people, they think, oh, okay, they'll get 300 million and they would pay that as like income tax. But no, the carried interest exemption allows them to pay capital gains tax on that, even though it's not their money. So they're working and discussing potentially getting rid of things like that. That's why I don't believe we're going to see like zero tax on crypto necessarily, but still bullish on it. I think we have the most.
Maybe not zero tax, but a reduced tax. Maybe we'll see. I mean, listen, it's up in the air.
I honestly never really liked that story that's been painted with the zero tax. Like I don't really care about that, to be honest. I never really
I mean, it
fell
would be
for that.
great. I just don't think it's going to happen. It would be
No, yeah,
really
it could happen, but like I didn't really I don't think it's gonna happen at all. I think
Yeah, it's for countries that need to attract people. And the thing is, the U.S. has enough reasons, so I don't think the U.S. is a country that's going to do that. I'll wrap this up, guys, by giving a few companies that I've been buying recently. Um, Honestly, more than I would have liked to be buying, but there were so many good opportunities, so many good deals. Like I added significantly to my ELF position, like almost doubled it. Went to really, really kind of a low market cap. Nike as well. I don't love Nike long term, but I think you know I think it's a very solid like value play right now. AMD been adding consistently. I like AMD a lot under $80 a share. I buy Meta pretty much every time under under like 495, $490 a share, scooped up a few like in the 480s. I like Amazon very much under 169, 168. Anything under that at these current numbers, I think is almost a steal. Google, I really like under 142. Um, been consistently trimming more Apple, especially just as it rallies. So there's a lot of companies that I think are very good opportunities. Again, if you have a really long time horizon. Now, if tariff stuff doesn't work out, there's a chance that Nike goes into the 40s. Elf can go into the 40s too. But again, on a long enough time horizon, I think these are going to be like kind of like generational plays. So that's it for me. Let me know if you guys have any last words. But this was the first time we went live on both Twitch and YouTube. First time Dan joined one of these calls. Just added him to the group. Good to have you, brother. But yeah, let me know if anyone wants to say any last words before we sign off.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I look forward to building and growing. This is going to be a great experience. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome.
100%. Yeah, man. It was a pleasure having you. Thanks for all the insight. It was a great episode.
100%. And I'll tell we don't have a lot of people listening to this right now, but anyone who is and who listens to this in the future, I'll say it like this. The whole purpose of this group is because we like discussing stocks, we like discussing markets, we have a long-term mindset. And we thought, hey, we're gonna record this, we're gonna put this content out, and we're gonna kind of like build a community around this kind of stuff. So if you're a value-based investor, you see this, reach out to us. Want to hear from you. We want to get people like eventually like in the comments, in the chat, asking questions, giving their point of view. That would be awesome. But that's it for me. That's it from all of us. We will see you next week. Adios.
Take care.